plant medicine to help us when we're sick. Lab researchers are even teaming with the ASU researchers to work on different medicines to help fight COVID-19 and more.
Yeah, well, this morning we are getting a behind-the-scenes look at where all of the action happens. Team 12's Jen Welch is live this morning from the lab in Tempe. So, Jen, what are some of the latest plant-based studies they're doing?
Yeah, good morning to you guys. So we are inside of one of the labs right here, and this is where a lot of the work happens. Obviously, all of the scientists are at home getting rest, but in just a few hours, it's going to be really busy in here. This is really cool. They use plants basically as nature's pharmacy to help fight a lot of the viruses that we come in contact with yearly. So things like the flu, rhinovirus, Zika, and different kinds of the coronavirus. Now, the Ric Scalzo Institute is unique because it's a multidisciplinary research center all under one roof here. It's taking botanical research to the next level as researchers look at the actions with plants and viruses, cutting down on time. Now, scientists take plant extracts, break them down to individual components, and this lab has the clearance to study illnesses like the flu, MRSA, infectious skin diseases, Zika, and more. And then the Institute teams up with ASU to even study COVID-19 because they have a biosafety level 3 lab clearance there. Now, since collaborating with ASU, 8 medicinal plants have been found with SARS-CoV-2 activity, and 3 patents are in the works right now. The lab says more research is happening to bring the medicine for various illnesses and diseases all to our doorsteps.
So if you've ever wondered or heard about, or a friend had recommended something like elderberry to you, which is very popular right now for immune health, you might wonder whether that's safe to take with cough syrup, or whether it's safe to take for your child, or whether it's even safe to take at all. So the research that we can provide here looks to bring answers to those questions.
Yeah, you know, those are all things that you don't even really think about. You're at the doctor. Hey, you don't need an antibiotic this time. Why don't you go try out some elderberry? Well, things like that, studies like that happen in places like this here in Tempe. So coming up live in about 15 minutes, we're going to introduce you to the director of research here. He's going to show us how he breaks down the cells and the plants and just really digs into all of it and figure out how everything interacts to help keep us healthy.
Mother Nature sometimes offers the best cures. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jen. Love that story. We'll get back.
The Art Lab in Tempe is digging into botanical use to help us when we're sick. Researchers are investigating different plants a lot of us are familiar with to treat viruses like the flu, the common cold, and many more.
Team 12's Jen Wall joins us live from Ric Scalzo Institute in Tempe. All right, Jen, how do they test these different plants to make sure that they're safe for us to use?
Yeah, good morning to you. There are so many ways that they do that, but it's all a very basic start, extraction. When they're studying plants like cannabis, echinacea, elderberry, all right here inside of these labs at the Ric Scalzo Institute in Tempe. Then scientists expose those extracts to different cells and viruses without testing on humans to see what kind of activity they have. Learning how to fight some of the most frustrating infectious diseases that attack us.
We can work with a whole variety of different viruses, as well as bacteria.
Is an investigation Dr. Jeffrey Langland spearheads every day here at the Ric Scalzo Institute.
These are some of the cells that we work with.
His weapon.
Why study plants? Because, well, you know, most pharmaceutical drugs have their origins in plants, so it's not something novel per se. We're going more back to that rich tradition of various cultures that have used plants for medical purposes for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Dr. Langland's lab has clearance to study plant reactions on infectious diseases like the flu, MRSA, Zika, and more. Even the growing threat of the bacteria defeating the drugs themselves.
We're testing a number of different botanicals for their ability to kill bacteria by novel mechanisms and treat some of these bacteria that have become resistant to antibiotics.
It's a one-stop shop under this Tempe-based institute's roof as researchers study the actions of plants with viruses.
Rhinovirus or influenza, we tend to use more kidney cells or lung cells.
Even teaming with ASU to use botanicals to battle a world-altering killer.
We have found about 10 or so that are highly effective at inhibiting the replication of that virus. We've created that as a formulation. We're working with some companies right now,
with the hope of developing a public health weapon against COVID-19 itself down the road. Okay, so fascinating work all going on right here in these labs, right? Well, Dr. Langland is here this morning. He's going to join us live at 6:15 and give us an even more in-depth look at some of the research he does. Plus, there's a research night coming up, and anyone can join that. And it's super exciting. You can learn all about the plants that they study here to help heal us when we're sick.
Back now on Today in AZ, a group of Arizona scientists are digging into plants to determine if plant medicine can help us when we're sick. So last hour, we got a behind-the-scenes look at the lab itself.
Team 12's Jen Wall joins us again from the Ric Scalzo Institute in Tempe. All right, Jen, how do they test these different plants to make sure they're effective for us?
Yeah, it is so fascinating, and they don't test on humans. They do all of the work inside of the lab here, and I want to reintroduce you now to Dr. Jeffrey Langland. Thank you so much for being here. You're the Director of Research, and you're going to show us one of the actual studies that you work on.
Right. Thank you for joining us this morning. Yeah. So if I can go through some of the work that we do here. First off, let me say that we do the work in vitro here in the laboratory, but then our goal is to actually move this from the laboratory into patients. So for example, here we have, on the microscope here, we have the purple represents different cells here, and the white is where we infected with a virus, and the virus is moving through the cells and able to kill the cells as it moves along there. Okay. And you can see this more at a global level here, where this little well here represents where a virus has infected these cells, and this is actually rhinovirus. The virus causes common cold, and so it has wiped out all the cells there. But if we treat with a botanical going across here, and here we use echinacea, you can see that the purple here is the cells, and the echinacea is able to inhibit the replication of that virus. And, moving from benchtop to bedside, our hope is that we'll be able to use like echinacea here to treat the common cold and be able to understand this or better in many, many ways. Okay.
Oh, that is so fascinating. So how do you decide which plants to start digging into?
So our foundations are really in the tradition of botanical medicine. So we go back hundreds, if not thousands of years and use that as our foundations. We work with various herbalists as well in trying to decide which herbs to use. And herbs that are commonly used, like echinacea or elderberry that everybody knows about. But echinacea is probably one of the best herbs out there that's misunderstood. We do a lot of work with that, and literally if you take like the root of echinacea and prepare it one way, it actually enhances the virus replication, but extract it another way and it'll kill the virus.
All right, so you got to be really careful with it.
Yes, be extremely careful with it, and that's where we need the science behind it to really justify how this works.
Got it. Okay, what's this contraption we have right here?
So we work with a number of different cell lines here. The cells that we work with, whether they be like cancerous cells, kidney cells, skin cells, depending on what we want to study here. We store all of our cells in liquid nitrogen, and so basically have our various cells that are in boxes like this.
Wow, look at that pouring out of there. I hope you guys can see that back in the studio. That is fascinating.
Various cell lines that we can work with here depending on what type of system we want to look at, whether it be if we're looking at the ability of herbs to improve skin health or to be anti-cancerous. We got a variety of cells that we can work with depending on that condition.
Oh, that is wonderful. Okay, and so tonight there's a big research night. Yes. You have a lot of people signed up already, and anybody can tune in.
So go to our website at SCNM.edu, or go to the news station, I believe it's there as well. And we're talking about various research we're doing. I mentioned echinacea. We've got several talks on echinacea and how to really prepare echinacea properly. We've got some of our work on COVID-19 and the use of different herbs for the use of COVID-19 as well. So hope you can join us. It'll get you up to date on some of the work we're doing here.
That is fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Langland. We really appreciate it. We know you're really busy, and it is really early, guys. So many things happening here. Rachel, Joe, I know you both have kids. We always try to do as many herbal things as we can at home that the doctors recommend before pumping them up with the antibiotics. And it's just so fascinating to know that, like, yes, in fact, it works. You saw it right here, depending on what type of herb it is, where you get it, what you're sick with, et cetera, et cetera.
And with so many of these superbugs that are antibiotic resistant, we really have to start turning back to nature to figure out its healing powers. And I love that the sneak peek is happening right here in Arizona. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jen. It's really cool what they're doing over there.
Yeah, the